Hello, everybody. My name is Max, and welcome to another B2 First Speaking Lesson. In this lesson, we're going to take a look at part three. We're going to see what part three is, what things we have to do in part three, and everything related to this part. So, without any hesitation, let's begin. All right, part three. Let's see what we expect. So, basically, this part is going to be around 4 minutes. Now, what you have to do in this part is that you're not going to talk to the examiner. This whole part is related to you and the other candidate. So you have to talk to the other candidate. You have to work with the other candidate. And this is all related to having a conversation and communication. Remember, we talked about one of the criteria, interactive communication. This is the part that matters, and the examiners are looking for those things inside of that criteria that we talked about. So you have to just try to bring all those things that we talked about, how to get 5 scores in interactive communication here. And also, I'm going to give you a lot of information about it, how to get those 5 scores as well here. So let's start and see what things we have to do. First of all, in this part, let's say part three is divided into two small parts. So as we mentioned, you are going to have 4 parts generally in this speaking test, but part three has 2 smaller parts. Now, the first part of part three is related to having a conversation with the other candidate for about 2 minutes. So let's see what things we have to do. First of all, this part is they want to see that how you can make suggestions. They want to see how you can just give opinion, reasons for your things, how you can show agreement, disagreement, try to, let's say, reach to a decision with your partner. So these are the things that they are going to test you. And also the examiner give you kind of a mind map, which we're going to take a look at that. And there are several things inside of that mind map which you have to talk about them in order to be successful in this part. Now, let me show you the prompt real quick so that you understand what it is. So this is the mind map. There's a question in the middle, as you can see, and there are 5, let's say, ideas related to the question, which you need to talk about these question, of course, about the question and these ideas around it for about 2 minutes with the other candidate. Now, let's go back. I just wanted to show you. Now, what you have to do is you need to talk with the other candidate about this for about 2 minutes. And you cannot just talk 1 minute and 1 minute for the other candidate. It should be like, for example, I'm going to tell you how long it should be. But you should a little bit talk and then give the opportunity to the other candidate to talk. And then he or she has to ask you a question. And then again, you start talking, asking questions. So this is going to be like back and forth. And you have to do it a couple of times until the time is out. Remember, there is no right or wrong answer in this part. Just everything that you're saying has to be related to the topic. You should not talk about your own experiences, which is not related to the topic. It should be 100% related to the topic that you're talking. For example, here it says, why would people choose to wear these clothes and accessories? For example, we have shorts and flip-flops, we have hat and a scarf, jeans and t-shirts, tracksuit, suit and tie. So you need to talk about this for about 2 minutes. Now, you might ask, Max, how many of these prompts or ideas should I talk about with the other candidate? So from 5 that we have, if you can talk about all of them, would be fantastic. But minimum, what I recommend is talking at least 4 of them. Now, it's not important from which you start. You can start from this, suit and tie, then you can move to hat and a scarf. From hat and a scarf, you can move to tracksuit. So there is no such a thing as a rule to just move from this to the next one. No, you can just jump from this to the other one and from this to the other one. But at least at the end of conversation, that 2 minutes, you should cover 4 of them. But if you could talk more in details, this is a part that detailed conversation is more important than general. So you should not just give general ideas about the topics here. You should talk in details. You try to have more detailed conversation and try to look at different aspects of the question and these topics around the question. And always you have to take a look at the question. Look at the question so that you don't forget what the question was and don't just talk about something that is not related. So you have to say, why would people choose to wear these clothes? You have to say why. You have to bring reasons why people wear suit and tie. So you should try to bring reasons for it. For example, it's because of, for example, situational reasons you can bring, whether it's because, for example, it's formal, it's informal, different reasons when you want to exercise, when you want to feel comfortable, and try to bring reasons to talk about it and not talk about, well, I love wearing suit and tie because it gives me and blah, 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 blah. No, you should try to say, why would people choose to wear this? And try to talk about it. Yeah, you can also add your own opinion, but why you would wear it as well, not a problem, but you have to try to generalize it about people, not just you, so that you are not talking about yourself and you're not answering the question 100% properly. Now, what kind of topics do we expect in part 3? So the topics that we expect in part 3 are, let's say, general topics. So it's not something really specific. They're not talking about quantum physics. So don't worry, you don't need to have any sort of crazy knowledge about specific topics, but you should know something about general topics such as health, environment, studies, free time activities. So these kind of things can be the topic, and sometimes the some other topics can be like health or related to health. You have some, for example, topics inside like diet, exercise, sleep, and blah, 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 blah. So these are kind of topics that we expect. We are going to take a look at least 30, 40 examples in this course. So don't worry about it. You're going to see a lot of topics and you will see how questions are built and how you can answer with a lot of examples, just like part 2 that we did. We're going to do the same thing with part 3. Now, tips and things to remember. There are many things you have to remember in part 3 to be successful. There are many strategies you have to learn and strategies to make you successful in this part. Try to listen to them very carefully. Try to write them down. And when you're practicing part 3, try to check yourself whether you're doing these things or not. If something is wrong, what is wrong? Because when you learn the steps, when you learn you have to do these things in your speaking, and when you record your voice and check it, it's easy. You can easily find out, okay, I'm doing something wrong, or I'm not doing something wrong, or I can do something to make it better because I'm not following one of these steps, or I didn't do this, I didn't do that. So you can just add it next time to just improve yourself. Now, things to remember, one of it is asking your partner questions. You should always in this part, asking your partner questions. What kind of questions we can ask? We'll take a look at it in a little bit further. Agree and disagree with what they say. This is also really important. You have to show agreement and disagreement. And you might say, why should I show this? Because this is, as we mentioned, communication. And one of the, let's say, fundamental things about communication is that you are showing to the other audience, to the other person, that you're listening to what they're saying. You're not just talking about your ideas, not what you think. No, you're listening to what the other person says and you show you agree with that or you disagree with what they say. And then based on what they said, you have to try to build your own idea. It's not just about you. Remember, this part is about your partner as well. Of course, you have to talk about your own opinion, but when the other partner says something, you should try to comment on what they said, not just what you think is true or what you think. Well, I think blah, 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 blah. He said 2 hours something, and after that he says, well, I think I will do this. Nobody cares what you think in this situation right now. This is what you have to remember, that this is collaboration. You have to try to see what your partner said. And based on what he said, you just try to create the answer and also say, well, That's a very good thing that you mentioned, and I think, and you can add points to what they said. You see, it's not only about what you think. Well, I think, I don't care what you're saying. I think. No, you just have to try to also include your partner in every step of the process, every step. When you want to start, you have to say something. Shall we start? When you are finishing, you want to move to the other, for example, topic. Shall we move on to the next topic? Just you have to add your partner into all different steps of the process. And also be very interested in what your partner says. So try to smile, try to look at them, try to be interested. Don't be like reactive in this part. It's not a war, and you just have to be very friendly with the other person. And that's bring us to the partner. Now you might say, okay, if my partner is good, if my partner is bad, what should I do? Basically, no one is going to affect your grade. Nobody. The only person that is going to affect your grade is you. So if your partner is talking too much, they will penalize him or her, not you. If you have to, for example, talk more because the other candidate is nervous, he doesn't know what to say, again, that won't count against you. But remember, you should not talk too much. You should ask questions. You should give the opportunity. You should try to give it to the person that talk. If he couldn't talk, that's fine. Then you move on and you start talking as well. But you just have to give the opportunity to the other person by asking questions and then letting them talk. If they couldn't talk, not your problem. You just try to continue. If they talked, okay, fantastic. You gave them the opportunity, and the examiners will love this because it shows that you're communicating. You're not just talking about yourself and your opinion. You're also adding the other person into your conversation and try to move the conversation forward. Now, let's see how we can do this. For example, if the topic is related to health, for example, there's a question related to the health in the middle, and you have some topics around it. For example, I just put two topics here, exercise and sleep. The question is related to the health, for example, how we can have a healthy life, something like that. And one of the options, we have exercise, the other one is sleep. So how can I move from this to this one? What should I do if I want to change the conversation? For example, I talked about exercise. Now I want to talk about sleep. What should I do? How can I move to the next topic? So there are many ways you can do that. The first one is combine keywords or topics into a single point. It means you can talk about this and you can talk about this at the same time and refer both of them to the question. This is one way. You can talk about both of them and connecting them to this question. For example, we can say, well, I think exercise and sleep are similar things. They are connected to physical health. You see, I connected exercise and sleep, and I said that there are similar things, and then I connected them to physical health. Then, if you want, you can talk about them in details. Let's a little bit talk about exercise and then talking about the sleep, and you can just move on, just like that. So this is one way. Another way is you talked about exercise, and it was towards the end. The topic was towards the end. So in that case, you have to move from one topic to another skillfully. How can I do that? Like this. So I agree with you that exercise can contribute a lot to having a healthy life. And I think that brings us to this point about sleep. Because if you exercise a lot, you'll sleep better. So he says, I agree with you that exercise can contribute a lot. So you started talking about the exercise, blah, 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 blah. And then move the conversation towards sleep. You didn't finish exercise. This is not a good thing. You're just finishing one topic and says, okay, now let's talk about sleep. No, that's not good. It's better to move the conversation, somehow connecting this and moving it to the next one, skillfully. In that case, it looks like you're just trying to have the conversation. Let's say you're not stopping the conversation and restarting it again. You're trying to just move the conversation forward all the time. And this is the question that we can use if the other partner was talking, for example, too much about one of these points. And you can say, okay, so shall we move to the next point? And you just move to the next point and you start talking about the next point. Because sometimes the other side candidate is not doing it. Never been to any classes like this. They don't know what to do. They just come to the exam without any preparation, and they're doing whatever they want, but you know what to do. You can ask questions and you can move the conversation forward. So don't worry if your partner, his or her English is the best or is the worst. It's not going to affect you at all. No difference. In both situations, you have an advantage. Both situation is good for you. If he's speaking really good, it gives you the opportunity to just move the conversation. If he's not speaking too much, it gives you the opportunity to show your language more and try to show to the examiners, look, I'm trying to communicate, but he doesn't want to. So I don't care. You just have to communicate. If he doesn't, not your problem. All right, now things to avoid. Now, these are the important things that you have to remember. First of all, as you remember, I told you should talk for a short period of time. It's 2 minutes, right? You have 2 minutes to talk about all those topics and the question around it. But you should only talk for 20 to 25 seconds. And that's it. And then you ask question. You talk about one of the topics for 20 seconds, 25 seconds, and then ask question. What kind of questions, Max, can I ask? In the next video lesson, we are going to take a look at the languages, okay? I'm going to tell you the questions, languages you can use, everything. But remember that after 20 or 25 seconds, you should ask question. Remember, not reacting to your partner's ideas. If he has whatever idea, that's fine, okay? Don't worry. He says something about, he says something racist. It's okay. You don't need to start a fight there. You don't need to be reactive or somehow try to, for example, start a fight or something. No, it's okay. Whatever he has or she has, it's fine. If you want to pick up the fight, do it after the exam. Don't do it during the exam. So whatever idea they have, it's fine. Just show agreement and disagreement and move on. That's all you can do. You don't need to just attack them. So what did you say? No, you cannot do that. Just have to try to be calm and be professional in this part and try to show agreement, disagreement with a very polite language, which I will teach you the polite languages. And you can use that to just show agreement and disagreement. Another thing that you should avoid is getting stuck on an individual topic. For example, one of those prompts, you talk about it too much. Remember, you have to cover 4 of them minimum in order to continue and finish this. So you have 2 minutes. So every 20 seconds, 25 seconds that you talk, and then the other candidate talks, you have to change the topic. You have to go to the next topic. So you talk a little bit about the topic, he or she talks a little bit about the topic, you move to the next one. Again, you move to the next one. It should be like that so that in 2 minutes, you can cover at least 4 topics in details. Sometimes it's not possible to talk in details, but it's better to talk less topics, but in details, rather than talking about all 5 topics without talking in details. So I'm not saying talk about all 5 topics, just saying something and just move on. No, examiners are not looking for covering. They're looking for in-depth conversation about each topic. That's what they're looking for. Okay, now, what else should we do? Another one, we talked about this one, rushing through the topics. Remember, in this part, the good thing is before you start, it will give you 15 seconds. It's nothing, but it's enough to read the whole prompts and the question and ideas and topics. You have 15 seconds to look at it. And after that, examiner starts some kind of a, again, let's say instructions is going to give you the instructions, and after instructions you have to start talking. So you have about 30 seconds at least with the instructions to look at the topics before you talk. So do not rush into the topics. Try to analyze everything. Try to see how you can move from this topic to the other topic, so that when it starts, you don't just say, oh my God, what to say? I don't know what to say. Because of that, in that case, you're not going to have any dead air. We talked about dead air, remember? So it's important not to race through the topics in less than a minute. Try to talk until the examiner stops you as well. Do not, let's say, stop early. Try to talk until the examiner says, thank you. And remember, this is a speaking part, so you cannot just showing non-verbal communication. You cannot just not move your head. You have to talk. If you want to say yes, say yes. Don't nod like this. No, that's not. This is not non-verbal communication skill. You should try to. It's in a speaking test. You have to talk. So try to always talk instead of nodding. Now, another thing is getting sidetracked. Getting sidetracked refers to they ask you a question. For example, the question in the middle is like this: how important are these things for our health? Remember, again, whenever we said how important, you should not talk about reasons at first. First, you have to say how important it is. It's not important, it's a little bit important, it's very important. Talk about the importance, and then, okay, you said it, you can just try to support it with reasons. So first, answer. Whenever you see how, don't answer with why. It's not like why, it's how. You have to talk about how important, how easy, how difficult. So you have to talk about this how, and then you can bring why. Now, this is something that you have to practice a lot. Now, you might say, how can I practice this part with myself? So it's easy. First of all, you don't need to have partner to practice this part. Of course, in the course, we're going to provide some platforms in the future that you can practice with other candidates. But at the moment, what you can do is practice with yourself. You don't need anybody. You just put a timer next to yourself for 2 minutes. Try to talk about the topics. Try to ask questions, try to show agreement, try to show disagreement, try to act as two persons. It's pretty easy. You can do it with yourself. You can act as two persons and try to talk and ask yourself a question and answer it yourself and move on. It's even more difficult. You know why? Because you have to act as two persons. If you can do it as one person, remember, in the exam is going to be very easy for you because you can just handle a 2-minute conversation by yourself. Now, if you have another partner, so that's not going to be a big challenge for you because the time is going to be half for you. But if you are doing it with yourself, try to talk about your own opinion and just try to change it a little bit. Talk, ask yourself questions, and try to answer it yourself and move on and move on and move on. And try to just time yourself. See how easy you can move the conversation from one topic to the other. If it's difficult for you, try to see what's wrong. Are you talking too much about one topic, or you don't know what to say about topic? What's the problem? Try to find the problem and try to fix it based on all the things that we mentioned here. And always get into the habit of turn taking, so that you ask question, time yourself. When it's 30 seconds, 25 seconds, 20 seconds, ask question. Don't wait, don't talk too much because you don't have, you cannot do that. You cannot just let the other candidate or yourself talk too much because it's not a conversation. You have 2 minutes and you should at least do 4 times just moving back and forth. You talk, he talks, you talk, he talks. So you can just move the conversation for about 2 minutes forward. Now, other things that you have to do is also listen very carefully to the instructions of the examiner, because the second question, which is in the second part, we just talked right now about the first part of part 3, that 2 minutes, because there's going to be another part in part 3, which the examiner will ask you and your partner a question, a follow-up question, which we have a complete lesson for that. We will talk about it in the future. We have a complete lesson about that, so we're not going to talk about it right now. But you have to listen very carefully because that question is not written. So just the examiner will ask you and you have to just talk about it with the other candidates. And also try to, as I mentioned, reply to your partner's comments. Don't just talk about your opinion. You said something, you asked a question. The other candidate starts talking, and probably he has his own idea. And then he's going to ask you a question. So the first thing you should do is show an agreement, disagreement, and then based on what he or she said, you have to try to create and kind of comment on what he said. If it was a good idea, if it was a bad idea, and always you have to come up with reason. Remember, whenever you disagree or you agree, you should have a reason for it. You cannot just whatever he says, you disagree. No, I disagree. Okay, something else that you have to remember is if you don't take turns, if you don't ask questions and not letting the other candidate talks, you are going to lose points. So be very careful. And whenever you disagree with your partner, try to be polite and give reasons. You cannot just disagree without anything. It's not I disagree. And you should try to, let's say, first of all, you have to be polite, and second of all, you should give reasons why you disagree. Because on the other hand, it doesn't make sense that you just disagree for no reason. Now, this part, it's good to use modal verbs to speculate, such as might, may. This might be a good idea. That might be a good idea, blah, 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 blah. So this way you can just show a lot of good speculations. We will take a look at the languages. Don't worry about it in the next video. As we mentioned, avoid any pauses. Try to move the conversation all the time. Listen carefully to what the examiner says. And also for this let's say for the part that it comes after this, you should listen to the examiner question very carefully and try to just talk about that question, which we will talk about it in the next video. Now, let's take a look at one example, a real candidate test in part 3. Let's see how it goes, and we're going to analyze it after we watch this video, okay? Let's check it.
Now, I'd like you to talk about something together for about 2 minutes. I'd like you to imagine that a town wants more tourists to visit. Here are some ideas they're thinking about and a question for you to discuss. First, you have some time to look at the task. Now, talk to each other about why these ideas would attract more tourists to the town.
Well, I think all the ideas on the booklet are quite good, actually. I think holiday flats will attract more tourists because there is just more space for the tourists to live in while they're on holiday. And what do you think about that?
Well, I agree with you, but maybe providing parks is much better.
Why do you think that, actually?
Because I think to spend time in parks are good with the family.
Yeah, I think you can have a lot of fun in parks, though. Just having a nice picnic with your friends or stuff. Yeah, that would be nice. But more shops, yeah, I think it would be nice because I think a lot of people, mostly women, like shopping, and I think having a lot of shops in your town would be nice for the shopaholics.
Yes, or I don't know, maybe the tourists like to spend more time in parks than go shopping, no?
Maybe. If you're kind of a nature person, if you like nature a lot, then parks are probably much better than a lot of shops.
Yes.
Putting up security cameras. Yeah, I think that's a really good idea because then the town is safe and tourists will feel safe.
Yes, with the cameras are a good idea because the people are more safe than without cameras
Yeah.
of the people that want to stop.
Yeah. No, I don't think building a large nightclub is really a good idea to attract tourists. I don't know.
It depends the age of the tourist, no?
Yeah, that definitely, but I don't think
No.
it will attract a lot of tourists because of one club. I think
Yes.
it's a combination of several things that attract tourists.
Thank you.
Very good, very good. So as you can see, Florine at the beginning, let's try to take a look at the beginning of the conversation, how she started the conversation. She started by asking questions.
On the booklet are quite good actually. I think holiday flats will attract more tourists because there is just more space for the tourists to live in while they're on holiday. And what do you think?
So you see, what do you think? So she started with her idea about the booklet, about all those topics around the question. She said what she thinks, and she didn't talk too much, 20 seconds, 25 seconds. And then she asked a question to invite the other candidate, involve the other candidate, include her into the conversation. So that the other candidate can talk. This is communication, right? You just want to ask question and letting the other candidate talk. Now, look at Marie, that she's not talking too much. And let's see what Florine does to fix this problem.
Think about that?
Well, I agree with you, but maybe providing parks is much better.
So she didn't say anything, right? Just providing parks might be better.
Why do you think that?
You see, again, Florine asked question. Why do you think that? So she's not just talking without listening to what the partner says. We said if your partner is not talking too much, you ask question. You let the other candidate talk. If the other candidate is not talking, again, ask one more question, and then you can move on. You just tried. You showed to the examiner, look, I don't want to talk too much. I'm asking questions. I'm talking about my ideas. I just mentioned what I think. I just asked, and he or she is not talking, no problem. I just move on. But you just have to give them the opportunity. Like 2 times, she tried to give the opportunity for her to talk, and then look how she reacts to what she said.
Because I think to spend time in parks are good with the family.
Yeah.
So spending time in parks is good. That's what she said. She didn't say a lot of things, just said it's good. Now let's see what Florine says. Remember, Florine has to talk about what Marie said. She cannot talk about what she thinks right now because you have to react to what your partner says. And look what she says about the park.
I think you can have a lot of fun in parks though. Just having a nice picnic with your friends or stuff.
You see? She talked about what the other candidate said. Yes, you can have fun with your friends, with your family, blah, 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 blah. You can have a lot of fun in the parks. And then she tries to move on to the next topic.
Yeah, that would be nice. But more shops, yeah, I think that would be nice because
more shops. And then she moved to the next topic and talking about the next topic and asking questions. So this is all about how to do this part. Now we have to take a look at the language necessary for this part. Like the questions you can ask, like Florine asked some questions, but there are many other things you can say, how you can show agreement or disagreement. If you agree, if you disagree, how you can mention that, how you can say I agree. Because I don't want you to just say I agree, I disagree, yes, no. That's not a good language. You just want to show, you want to have a very good score for interactive communication, but also you want to get a good score in vocabulary and grammar as well. So this is good to have both of them at the same time. Try to show agreement, disagreement, and try to build your partner's ideas, which is good for interactive communication. Now, what else can I do inside of this? Using a good language. So if you mix them up, you can get 5 score in both at the same time. You're doing the interactive communication part. You're also getting a good language section as well. So let's take a look at the next video together, and we will learn so many good languages you can use. And after that video, we're going to have another lesson, which is referring to examples. We're going to take a look at example just like this and some practices while you are listening and learning a lot of, let's say, phrases. You have to also practice with yourself as well. Okay, so in that case, I'll see you in the next video.